Are you planning to move to Spain someday, but worried that you might miss something? There's nothing worse than going to a foreign country and wishing that you knew what you know now back then. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 things to know before you move to Spain, including a lot of tips from my relocation clients who are actually living there. So the first thing you need to know is that you need a visa or a residency permit to be able to live in a foreign country, and Spain is no exception. There are a few different types of visas that you might be interested in here. If you're retired, then you'll want to take a look at the non-lucrative visa, which the income requirements change for this one depending on the year, but currently it is around 28,800 euro per year, or over 31,000 US dollars. So if you earn passive income or a pension and you're not planning to work in Spain, then that could be the visa for you. It's really important that you don't work on this one because it's not allowed. If you are working remotely, then you'll want to check out the digital nomad visa, which has a similar income requirements, a little bit lower. You need to make about 2,600 euro per month. And in the case of both of these visas, if you're bringing along another family member, then you'll actually have to make more money to cover their expenses living there as well. One thing to know about the digital nomad visa is that it can be really difficult to qualify if you are a W-2 employee working remotely. There's a lot higher success rate if you are a freelancer or sole proprietor and your clients are outside of Spain. So this is going to be really important that you're able to show proof of work history. If you're a freelancer, you'll need at least 3 months of experience working with clients remotely before you go to Spain. And if you are working for a company, then you will need a letter of authorization from them acknowledging that you're going to be working remotely from Spain. Now, things get a little bit more complicated when we start talking about the second topic that you need to know before going to Spain, which is taxes. So when you're thinking about deciding on a country to go to, it's really important to look at the tax rates and get consultations with licensed professionals to find out what your tax burden will be if you move there, because depending on the country you go to, you might become a tax resident there and have to pay taxes on worldwide income. And if you're from the United States, if you leave our country, you'll also have to file a tax return and pay taxes on your worldwide income. So there's a lot of tax treaties between countries, and Spain is no exception, but the progressive tax rate in Spain can be quite high. And what this means is that the more money you earn, the more money you pay in taxes. In the case of Spain, it ranges from 19 to 47%. My clients Heather and Jake, who moved to Spain last year, they told me that they hired a gestor who can help with their taxes and basically different types of bureaucratic processes. It's kind of like someone who can help facilitate these types of things in Spain. And they said it's like a combination of having an accountant with an administrative assistant, because the Spain tax system can be really complex, and you don't just have income taxes to worry about, but there's also inheritance taxes, capital gains taxes, a whole lot of different taxes. And now they do say that even though they might pay a lot of taxes in Spain, it's still worth the trade-off of the quality of life and the lower cost of living and the just general benefits of living in Spain compared to the United States, but it's still definitely something to think about. They also mentioned that it's very difficult to qualify for tax breaks under the Beckham law as digital nomad visa recipients, and the Beckham law is from David Beckham. It was actually passed before the digital nomad visa was, so it's more created for different types of companies and employees and not necessarily digital nomads. So be prepared to pay some high taxes. My clients Julianne and Spencer, who are also living in Spain, they said be careful about when you sell your house in the United States, because depending on the date that you sell your house, if you're already a tax resident in Spain, you might have to pay capital gains taxes on the sale of your house. And also, if you have a Roth IRA and you've been saving money for retirement tax-free, those withdrawals can also be taxed in Spain because they don't have an equivalent type of IRA savings account in Spain. Also be aware of the wealth tax, and actually this can depend on where you live within Spain. Allegedly, many wealthy people such as Javier Bardem, Penelope Cruz, and even some of the owners of Zara live in Madrid to get tax breaks. So it does depend on which province you're in. If all of this sounds very overwhelming and you'd like to get a tax consultation with our expat tax partners in the US, then you can scan this QR code right here for a discount. In better news, one thing that you can look forward to when you move to Spain is getting access to very affordable and high quality healthcare. So Spain's healthcare system ranks among the top in the world. It's actually higher than the UK and the US. There are also many doctors there. As a percent of the population, you can expect around 4 doctors for every 1,000 people. And due to the different facilities available, you may never be farther than 15 or 30 minutes away from a hospital or healthcare center. If you're a legal resident and paying into Social Security, you can access Spain's public healthcare system for free, and every neighborhood has a health center where you can get assigned a family doctor. However, if you are moving to Spain on one of those visas that I mentioned earlier, and there's also other types for entrepreneurs, or if you'd like to study abroad or start a business in Spain, in those cases, you'll need to get private health insurance. So I'll also leave a QR code here for one of the health insurance companies we use in Europe, and I'll link to some more in this video description below. The fourth thing to know is that the bureaucracy will test your patience in Spain. I've seen a lot of people joking around online about how they got Spained due to the bureaucracy. There's a lot of examples. My clients say that no matter how type A detail oriented you are, the Spanish bureaucracy will test your patience. So come into that with a go with the flow attitude, or you can be very stressed out. A couple things specifically that can really test your patience is getting your NIE number and also getting your empadronamiento number. So the NIE is your foreign identification number that you need for pretty much everything, and then you also need to register once you get to Spain as a foreign resident. The only problem with doing this is that it's almost impossible to get appointments. The waiting times are really long, and so you might want to have a lawyer or somebody to help you with getting an appointment. I can also link to the firm that I use below this video. And one tactic that a lot of expats use is actually going to smaller areas outside of the big cities to be able to get these appointments. But my client Bob in Valencia said that, the municipality, the government, they know that it's hard to get these appointments, and so they're pretty lenient on those dates and the time frame in which you can go. But Bob also says that you can't use your cell phone, at least in Valencia when he went to the office. So if you don't speak Spanish yet, you can't easily use Google Translate there on your phone, which leads me to the next point, which is that learning Spanish is necessary in Spain. My clients have also said that it's really difficult to make friends if you don't speak Spanish, because it's hard to talk about things on a deeper level. And they've spent a lot of time going to Spanish classes and learning. So that's something that I highly recommend that you start before you arrive with an app like Rosetta Stone, and then also continue once you get there. You can learn from your app and also take in-person classes. Rosetta Stone is for you if you'd like to have real-world conversations with local people abroad. Their dynamic immersion approach helps you learn a language naturally through real-world images and audio from native speakers, just how you learned your first language as a kid. It also comes in handy when you need to navigate government offices, order food at a restaurant, or just get to know your neighbors. And even though I'm fluent in Spanish, I've been using Rosetta Stone for years to help keep my accent sharp, whether I'm down in Costa Rica, here in Miami, or over in Spain. Their true accent technology is incredible. It gives you instant feedback on your pronunciation so you can speak confidently without second guessing yourself. You can learn at home or on the go with your laptop, tablet, or on the app on your phone, and lessons are as short as 10 minutes. So you can bring it with you anywhere, on the metro, during a coffee break, or while you're waiting for that NIE appointment. And right now, you can get more than 60% off lifetime access to all 25 Rosetta Stone languages, or a single language like Spanish. All you have to do is scan the QR code right here or click the link below this video, and you can get more than 60% off lifetime access to all of those languages. Thanks to Rosetta Stone for partnering with me on this video, and now let's continue our journey in Spain. Another thing to know before you go to Spain is that your cost of living can vary wildly depending on where you are within the country. So it can double, triple, or quadruple if you're living in the bigger cities such as Barcelona and Madrid compared to if you're living in the smaller towns. So I'll just show you on the screen how much different your cost of living can be depending on where you're going. And you can see that if you're in a small town or a rural area, you can rent an apartment for anywhere from 450 to 700 euro per month, or even less in some cases. But that same apartment, if you're in a bigger city like Valencia or a touristy area like Malaga or Madrid or Barcelona, could be 2, 3, 4 times more. I also noticed that food prices can vary by location. So I saw coffee prices anywhere from €1 to €7, depending on the type of place I was, whether it was a train station or a local cafe or a more like bougier brunch restaurant. Also keep in mind your utility costs at your house. My clients, Julian and Spencer, said that they got a pretty bad surprise the first month that they were living in Spain because of how much they were using their climate control. She says that electricity is expensive, and even though she's not paying for gas like she was in the US, that extra cost can definitely take up a lot of room in your budget. If you'd like to calculate your exact living in Spain budget, I actually have a budget guide that you can download in the description below. I'll also leave a QR code for it right here. And I also have a specific video to help you calculate your cost of living that I will link to as well. One of the benefits of living in Spain is that the public transportation is amazing. You can pretty much get anywhere within the country in the same day. The trains run very quickly. There's a lot of them going every which way, but they can be delayed sometimes. And I'm pretty sure that every single train station in the country is under construction right now. So be prepared for delays if you're going to be taking the train places. Also be prepared for some high prices. So make sure to book in advance if you're going to be booking the train, because the prices can double, triple, quadruple depending on how close you get to your departure date. So you want to go on off-peak days, off-peak times, and also book in advance to keep those prices low. If you're moving to Spain, you'll definitely want to get a transport card, get a monthly pass, and also look into their bike rental program that can cost less than €100 per year. But if you're planning on driving a car in Spain, then you will need to get a Spanish driver's license after 6 months. And passing this test is notoriously difficult, especially if you don't speak Spanish. So brush up on that Spanish with Rosetta Stone. And also there are actually organizations and companies that can help you pass this driving exam, the practical and the written. So you can definitely search for some of those online. They have a lot of different ones in local areas, especially in expat heavy areas like Seville, Valencia, and Alicante. Another thing to prepare for are the high housing prices in Spain. Now, although these prices might be upwards of 69% lower than the rent prices in the United States, they've still been going up over the years due to a lot of short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and also there's been some tourism crackdowns on those and some pushback against these higher prices. So hopefully some solutions are in sight, but you can be prepared for a competitive housing market. And in some cases, properties can be turning over on a daily basis. You'll also need some money in the bank to be able to secure these properties, and you might need to pay a couple of months' rent up front to guarantee that property. My clients, Heather and Jake, said, don't underestimate how quickly apartments leave the market and how many fewer options you will have as a foreigner, because Spanish landlords often only want to rent to people with established jobs in Spain. There are also a lot of quirks when it comes to renting in Spain. For example, unfurnished can be really unfurnished without anything, even appliances. So make sure to confirm if you're renting furnished or unfurnished and what's included. Another thing, and I know we mentioned that the utilities can be expensive because of electricity, but oftentimes there might not be good climate control in those apartments, or there might not be good insulation. So that's something to check as well. And if you need air conditioning in the summer, depending on where you're living, then you'll want to check for that before you rent. One Redditor living in Seville said that there's more than 4 months there with temperatures above 30 degrees, yet only half the people he knows have air conditioning. And if they do, it's only in the living room. So summers often mean sleeping with a fan and sweating. If you're from the United States, it's also important to note that very few properties have central climate control. And this was something that was really hard for me to adjust to when I first started living abroad, because ever since I can remember living in Florida, we always had heating and air conditioning centrally in our homes. And I didn't realize how fortunate we were to have that until I started living in other countries. So you might only have it in the living room, only in the bedroom, and also those mini split type of units can be more expensive to run than a central unit. Winters are also mild during the day but cold at night. This is especially a problem in the south and along the coast. It could mean that you spend a lot of the winter sitting inside with 3 jackets or spend a lot of money on a portable heater. Spanish homes are built for heat, not cold. So stone floors, tile walls, and poor insulation can mean that even mild winter temperatures can feel freezing on the inside. Speaking of temperatures, the climate varies a lot in Spain, along with the cost of living. So before you move to Spain, make sure you spend a lot of time researching the climate in the different areas that you're thinking of going to, because your entire day-to-day lifestyle will be affected so much by the climate. If you're living in Madrid, you're going to have very hot summers and very cold, gray, and rainy winters. But if you live somewhere like maybe in Galicia, it might be more temperate year-round. In Valencia, you can expect hot, humid summers, but the beach makes it bearable. They also have mild winters, but it still gets cold when the sun goes down. Sevilla reaches 95 or 100 degrees from mid-June to mid-September, so this makes sleeping uncomfortable even with the AC. But again, northern Spain, Galicia, Asturias, just like Oregon or England, you can find green nature here, and you can find humid and mild rainy temperatures for most of the year, but it stays manageable year round. Let me know your Spain tips in the comments below, and make sure to watch these videos next to calculate your exact cost of living and check out the top 10 best places to live in Spain this year. And if you'd like help from me with your move, then scan this QR code right here or go to travelingwithkristin.com/relocation.